live in stereo. Live in stereo.
Attention everyone, the RawCast Live is now in session. Please get to your seats of assignment and get ready for another Yap Fest from your hosts, Raw Tactics and TrueBlue 77. Please keep your hands away from the lobotomites and enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another installment of the RawCast. I'm joined as always by Mr. TrueBlue. Blue, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be good. This is really going to be good. Honestly, I've did my research, and yeah, we are going to get into some deep comments on some pretty good stuff involving Fallout modding. Trust me, guys, this is one to tune into.
Yes, sir, I agree 100% because for over a decade, this man has been setting the standard for high-quality armor and character design, releasing dozens of iconic mods that have been downloaded millions of times, from the gritty realism of his NCR and Legion overhauls to the fan-favorite packs like the Modern Gunslinger and his extensive collaborations with the likes of the Long 15 team. His work has fundamentally shaped the visual landscape of the modern Fallout games for countless players. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving a warm welcome to Dragbody. How you doing today, sir?
You know, I'm doing good. I am a little dazed by that intro you just gave me, and you know would humbly tame some of that back a little bit, but I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Great, brother. I'm great.
Yeah,
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm looking forward to listening to your input, man.
yeah. And you know, it's funny. You mentioned the modern gunslinger in that intro. I feel like that mod is so old. That's like having Zalandro on here and being like the creator of Blackout E and B. You know,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we got plenty of time to talk about the more modern stuff, like the more
Sounds good.
recent, more popular. You know, just had to throw something in there. We did a little research.
For sure, for sure.
So, Drag, I think one of the best ways to kind of break the ice, introduce who you are. Real quick, how long have you been modding? Since roughly 2011, correct?
Yeah, 2011. So I got into modding. I was never my introduction to the Fallout franchise was New Vegas, and I remember just on a whim, I worked in the mall back when malls were still a thing,
Right.
and on break one day, I wandered into GameStop. I would just go wander around GameStop from time to time, and a coworker of mine had spoken highly of Fallout 3, and New Vegas was new. It was on the shelf. I said, you know what? Let's try it. And that was my introduction to Fallout, and I took it home. And from the moment the introductory video started, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm in love with this game. This is going to be amazing." And the first playthrough was just, unforgettable. Still, I felt an immediate connection to the characters and the story. And I played. This was on Xbox.
Right.
All those years ago, just playing an Xbox, and I was such a completionist where I would go around, complete every quest, find
Right.
every armor, find every weapon, and I remember thinking, is there a way that I could potentially get the Leggett armor and sword before going into this end game scenario so I could run around with these pieces? And I got on YouTube just to look to see, is there something uh, something here that's going to give me like a little hack? And I just ran into videos of mods from PC, and I said, "What is all of this?" And I had been a console gamer my entire life up to that point, and then I saw that and I said, "Up." Scraped some money together, bought a PC that was just strong enough to run Vegas, and started playing. I started getting mods there, and I decided to get into modding. I remember playing a mod one day where I had previously always thought that, modding must be very difficult. You have to have all this extensive knowledge of these hard programs. I'm not one with a computer background other than just using them, not coding, not programming. This must be so difficult. And I was playing a quest mod one day that had a lot of spelling errors in it. And I thought, oh my God, these are just simple spelling errors. Maybe you don't have to be that smart to mod. maybe
Yeah.
maybe it is
Yeah.
accessible. And so I started getting into it. I tried it, and that was all the way back in 2011, like you say.
You saw the human nature, the human aspect that I think a lot of people tend to forget about. Blue and I talked about this extensively off cam. Actually, Blue, do you have anything you'd like to add to that one? Let you take over.
No, I'm just going to say, it resonates a lot with me what you've just said, because I was like you said about being a completionist. Wow, I mean that's exactly what I did. I was like from faction to faction. I was like, right, let's do another run through NCR,
Mhm.
Legion. I did all that, and I kept coming back for more because of the incredible, like, the story and all that. You guys, you all know how much I wax lyrical about Fallout New Vegas, and Raw, you back me up massively here with what I just said. But
Yeah.
when it comes down to the modern scene itself, drag, see, before Fallout, right? Like, yeah, I know you said you kind of went into, you sort of researched it yourself, but see, before Fallout, were you already working like with 3D art or textures or game modding in any capacity, or did you learn the specifics for like New Vegas, like itself? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I had no experience with any of that. I mean, I had, when I was a teenager, and I'm 44 years old, by the way, so teenager, we're talking a long time ago.
Oh
Um,
yeah, brother, high five.
We're talking Sims 1. I was downloading
Oh
things that,
yeah.
that I could play as the X-Men or something like that. And that is the extent of my modding. So everything that I've learned, I have learned through trial and error, primarily doing mods for New Vegas.
Awesome. And do you
Yeah.
actually remember the first mod you released that made you think, "Oh wow, people are actually really paying attention to me now. This is awesome."
Yeah. So the first mod that got people's attention, I think was I mean, you could go back and look at my Nexus history and see the earliest things. It's really some really not stellar quality things, but I was brand new. I was trying. I was learning. Um,
Yeah,
and I did the Legion power armor, and somehow with the Legion power armor, I got the attention of Cabal, who was doing a lot of like the Book of Water, a lot of great texture mods, and
right.
so he was well established with some really high quality mods that were really important at the time, and he helped me out, and I thought this is great. Maybe people will start paying attention, and then it was Caesar's New Regime that I put together this Legion overhaul, and it got
That
a
was
lot of
2012, right? That was 2012. Sorry to interrupt. Right, Caesar's
yeah.
region.
That
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sounds right. Yeah, so because I played on Xbox for about a year, so yeah, that we could go back and look at the dates, but yeah, and people liked it and were playing it, and I remember the immediate positive response had me trying some additional things, like a couple rushed updates and yeah, so that was really the first one, which, of course, to say that it was the first mod that got attention is not to say that at this point that mod is still probably my most downloaded mod on the Nexus. So if you have never ventured off the Nexus for mods, you might think that, oh, Dragbody's the CNR guy. But of course, if you venture into Discords and other places, then you know that we've moved on from that mod some time ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And can I just point out as well, right? It's incredible this. Excuse me. But Dragbody has a profile obviously on Nexus Mods that has over 1.9 million unique downloads. Right, just get that in your head, guys. 1.9 million unique downloads, and that is Nexus alone. So that's that just
Hmm.
shows you the scale of how long this guy's been doing stuff, and obviously the quality of it is understandable, and it shows you from the figures, which is quite incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there, even some newer guys that have way more downloads. If you're just looking at the raw numbers like that. But
Yeah,
that doesn't really tell the story of a lot of my more popular mods that are not on the Nexus, that are on Discord or that had been on Gun at one point or another. And those I host on MediaFire, so I can see those downloads. And yeah, they've amassed a large number of downloads as well, for sure.
yeah. So it's to be fair, you have been very successful in terms of modding, and you've been very popular. And can I just ask as well, just like sticking with the sort of introductory sort of side of it, has your like approach to modding changed from your early work, or um, from your more recent projects? Like I know you touched on it, like you said yourself that some of your stuff was quite I don't know how did you put it? You said like you're always learning. That's how you kind of put it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Trial and error sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so my approach to modding has definitely changed. I think looking back, I remember enjoying Fallout so much. There's almost like different phases that you could go and look and kind of draw lines between transitionary periods. There was so many years where I thought the ability to incorporate unique content uh, just made the Fallout universe kind of this meeting point and this sort of melting pot for different fictional universes because it was possible through
yeah,
modding to take any character you liked as long as the assets were available. Like if it was a Mass Effect character or a Metal Gear character or a Resident Evil character, and the list could go on, and you could just have them all in your party
yeah,
in New Vegas if you wanted to. And so that was really exciting to me for a time. But then as time went on, what I realized was that approach, it took a few years, but it got old.
mhm,
And the reason that people keep playing New Vegas is because they like the story of New Vegas. And I think especially in recent years, there's been a resurgence of just a vanilla aesthetic and people trying to not build these crazy multi-universe stories in their game. That is very 2015. Now it's more like how can we improve the vanilla game? How can we
Yeah.
take that vanilla aesthetic and elevate it and make this feel like a modern version of itself? And that I think is true of my approach as well. You could even look back at some of my faction overhauls, for example. Like the Legion's a good example, where I did Caesar's New Regime for the Nexus all those years ago. On Gun, I had released The Legion Will Rise. And that was just using all or primarily assets from Rise, Son of Rome. So it was this very Roman aesthetic
Mm.
for the Legion, but it wasn't very Fallout, and some people still like it. I still get requests for it, but it doesn't look like a post-apocalyptic type of armor. It just looks like Roman armor. So, I made a third major Legion overhaul, which was We Are Legion, which came out a few years ago, and that was an attempt to sort of restore the vanilla aesthetic in high quality, and that is the approach that I think is the enduring approach, and that is probably the approach that I'll stick with as long as I continue modding.
If I
That's
may
awesome.
interject, we've got
Sorry.
we've
Yeah,
got
go on, Raw.
Patty. We've got Patty saying that he loves your Port of Fallout 4's power armor into Vegas that paired with
Yeah.
Titans of the New West is on point. And we've also got DJ. Can I please ask for the inspiration on the Black Wolf, whatever from the Courier cache? He said it's golden. He wanted to know the inspiration behind that.
Or the Black Wolf?
Inspiration on the Black Wolf, whatever. He doesn't know the exact name, but it's from the Courier cache and it's golden.
Courier Cache. Well, it would help me if I knew what he was talking about. So Courier Cache, that was that mod is still on the Nexus, and it's got a substantial amount of endorsements. That mod just kind of came together. There were several of us that were kind of chatting, and I had these outfits that I had put together I wanted to use. Saxon had some weapons he wanted to. No, not Saxon. Scott Mack. Um, TDX, I think he was doing player homes at the time, and Mishaxi, who is very well known for Niner. I was chatting with all these guys, and we kind of just took all these little individual mods we were doing, and we pulled them all together just to make like a little quest mod, and that mod is pretty funny. And I can say that in all humility because it was all Mishaxi's writing, and he just had a way of making things funny. I think, the quality hasn't entirely stood the test of time, especially on the armors that I was responsible for. But it was still a fun mod, and so as far as inspiration for that, it was just kind of a few buddies teaming up and with uh, the end being greater than the sum of its parts.
Got you.
That's
On,
very
on that
nice.
same type of note, you've been in this for a very long time, and you had mentioned the gun network, and I know a lot of people
Yeah.
out here may not know what the gun network is, may not know any of the controversy that at one point surrounded that whole thing. Can you give a brief synopsis of what the gun network is, kind of introduces to people that may not be aware?
Sure. Yeah. So when I first got into downloading, initially downloading mods, there was a website called VGU, Video Game Underground Network, or something like that. It was run by, if I remember correctly, it was run by Max Unit, and it was this website that was like an alternative to Nexus, but it wasn't so much trying to compete with Nexus. It was just a website where you could go and post things that didn't have the same restrictions as the Nexus. I mean, the Nexus is monetized. I don't know all the details, but the owners of the Nexus, the people that work there, they have advertisements. They're accepting money for memberships, and so they have a responsibility that they can't host anything that is going to be guilty of any sort of copyright infringement. Where the VGU didn't have those rules, so all the mods I was talking about earlier, having Shepard from Mass Effect and Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil in your party, you couldn't put that on on the Nexus, but you could put it on a place like VGU. It just took whatever. It didn't have those rules, and kind of overnight, VGU just shut down without any kind of warning. And there were a lot of us, myself included at the time, that had a lot of mods that were hosted there. And we thought, wow, this entire section of our community and our sort of collective mod library just shut down. It just disappeared. What are we going to do? And I was talking with my friend Deviated, and he said, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, whose idea it was or whatever, but we were talking, and he said, "Look, let's start a new version. Let's get Max Unit's blessing." I said, "Cool, let's do it." So he and I co-founded Gun, and it's just a forum. It wasn't like as well organized as the Nexus, as far as clicking here to go to this file, front screen. It wasn't like that. It was just more of a basic internet forum. And with the VGU, when you signed up for VGU, you didn't initially get download permissions. You had to be a part of the community for a little bit of time and prove to some sort of satisfaction of the moderators that you were there to be a member of the community. And then once you kind of showed that you were there for the sake of being there for Fallout and participating in the community, you got upgraded to a membership that could access the mod section. And that format we just sort of forwarded over to Gun. And what ended up happening was, over the years, Gun, if you're speaking about wanting to understand the controversy, what happened was Gun got pretty popular. If you could go and look at just the membership pages and do the math to figure out how many members there were, I want to say there's 6 figures in terms of members. And so the format of joining, demonstrating that you were there for the sake of being part of Fallout community, and not there for any other sort of purpose, that got really unsustainable. Because there were so many people joining and there was such a small staff, and it wasn't monetized. No one was being like, all the staff members were volunteers, and it just became very difficult to keep up with who had been there for a week or two and who was a part of the community. And so those membership approvals didn't happen with a speed that really satisfied everybody. And as a result of that, Gun earned this reputation for being exclusive and elitist, and just having this. I read at one point somebody called it a clout wall, and for years now, the private section has been gone. So you can go to Gun and get anything you want, and Discord has more or less made Gun redundant and sort of obsolete. And to be honest, the library of mods at Gun was never very, very extensive. It just was probably a handful of mods. It wasn't like there was some golden treasure trove of mods that everyone was hoarding to this elite group. But nevertheless, the reputation was what it was. I should also mention that even though I was a co-founder, like I said, the staff, the responsibilities of being staff on Gun were a lot, and I had to step away from that pretty early, just so that I could focus on my job in real life and just general modding. If I was going to get home, have some time on the computer, I had to pick: am I going to go look through Gun posts, or am I going to mod? And I picked that I was going to mod, so I stepped back from an admin role, even though I was initially part of the founding. So yeah, that's, I think, where the controversy bubbled up from. It endures to this day because for whatever reason, people have that memory of of being clout walled out for a week or two. And yeah, that's a summary of the history of Gun.
That's interesting. That particularly talking about gun and stuff like that. Can I just touch on it again? Like, so the culture and moderation. I think you've already mentioned a few things, but obviously, I think you said yourself, like gun developed a bit of a reputation for being more hands off and creator focused. Was that intentional? And how did you like personally define, creative freedom on gun, and where did you draw that line?
So I think what you're asking about as far as creative freedom, from and and I don't speak for everybody on gun, and in sharing sort of that brief history, I know there were plenty of interactions between staff members and other members that could have been very pleasant or very unpleasant. I can't speak to for everyone's experience, but it was really just created as a place to house those things where uh, copyright infringement wasn't a concern,
Yeah.
because we know, for those of us who've been in the modding community for a while, copyright's a thing that Nexus has to pay attention to. But I've reached out to many of these game companies asking for permission to use their assets in mods, and you just get crickets back. It's very, very difficult to get the attention of these people, unless you're doing something real, real bad. And I remember hearing that Arma 3 was sending cease and desist letters to folks who were making Gmod
Oh,
mods
really?
using their assets. Yeah, this is a while ago, but that's the only. And I did get a response back from someone from Borderlands at one point. I had emailed them a couple times, and finally somebody wrote me back and said, "Look, like I can't give you an official permission to use this stuff. What happened is in the files of Borderlands 1, there's actually some old demo content that exists from a time before they switched over to a cell shading aesthetic. So there's actually some files that never ended up in any game, but they're just there in the Borderlands 1 files that
Mm.
some of that was in a defunct mod that I worked on for a while called Willhaven. And so I was trying to get the Borderlands guys permissions to use this stuff, and they finally just said, we can't give you the official green light, but what we will say is that we appreciate fan efforts, and as long as what you're doing is not running counter to our business interests, you're not going to get any legal trouble from us. And
Yeah.
so my impression is that that is the way that most, if not all, game companies feel. And so Gun really just existed as a place where those people who were using, who were creating in that space of sort of copyright, not having the copyrights, the things that couldn't go on Nexus had a home on Gun, essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, see, looking back, sorry, Rob, this is the last thing I'm going to ask on gun drag, but see,
Yeah.
looking back overall, do you think guns like moderation style helped or hindered the long-term health of the community? And I mean that in a best possible way. I mean, what's your honest views on it? What do you think?
Whether it helped or hurt, well, I can say that I have multiple friends that I know from my gun days. I think that anybody who had probably a good attitude going in was eventually approved. It wasn't like there was anybody that was perma excluded. And anybody that sort of runs into that approval wall, um, and takes issue with it and is resentful and is posting all kinds
Yeah.
of negative comments about it, I feel like, and it I'll say this, it's very possible that people slip through the cracks. Like I said, there was a very small number of people moderating it. It was all done manually, and thousands of people joined. And so, in that sense, it could have been a victim of its own success. That people were probably withheld from approval for longer than they needed to be. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't elitist or exclusionary. And I say this as somebody who was close to it, but just on the peripheral. And but those people who were, wanting to be really negative about it, they probably would have been really negative about something else. And I know that there's still a lot of friends that I have from that time. So um, I think. the gun community brought a lot of people together who are still friends, and for whatever resentment there is, like, you know, there's always going to be a group of people that are going to complain about something. Uh, to what degree it's justified, who knows? But um, if I could go back and do things different, um, I I don't know. I know what the goals were. I don't know what functionally. Probably um, easing back the requirements for approval, but I don't know how to do that with it being manually moderated like it was. So it's hard to say. Maybe honestly, I just wish there had been more volunteers going through it so that
Yeah.
the approvals could have been speedier, and everything would have been a little bit less friction.
No, that's great. I appreciate the honesty and the answer and stuff like that. No, that's really awesome. Raw, I'm sure you've got some questions as well, mate. Fire away.
Regarding your work with other people, kind of staying on that same type of topic, you've done a lot of collaborative work in the past from other modders. Like, if I'm not mistaken, Kaiser's New Regime was a quote unquote like group project. You've done work on the
Yeah.
Long 15.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy about doing a collaborative work, and how does it differ from like your solo projects?
Sure. Yeah. So Kaiser's New Regime, that was a collaboration insofar as I just gave credit to a few people that I reached out to for help. Uh, YGson, he helped with textures a lot, and I gave a couple other people credit where it was due, but that was primarily my creative project. There are a lot of other projects like the Long 15, which I contributed a few uh, armors to. And a few projects like that. So, for example, I did some things for Beyond Boulder Dome. I have done many outfits for some guy slash some rooster mods. Off the top of my head, what else? There was some work done for the Frontier, and but what I like about those things is I see a lot of mods that are very ambitious in scope. And when I look at the assets that they're using, what I hope to find and what I want to experience in game is DLC quality outfits where if there's a new NPC or a new faction that warrant a new sort of clothing or armor or whatever, that it's suiting and that it is at the same level as the rest of the things like voice acting and scripting and all of that. And there's a lot of times where you have these very, very large projects where people are using mashups, which nothing wrong with a mashup, but if you're going to use a mashup, what I personally hope to see is something that it's hard to figure out where the pieces came from. What you really want to do is try to transform the assets as much as possible. If you can look at it and say, "Oh, that's the Merc Grunt shirt on the, Merc Adventurer pants, and that's it," then you just see that every time you're looking at that character model in game, um, and you sort of lose the opportunity to create something that feels new, rather than like recycled assets that's reminding you that you're playing a mod. Because I think of many many times the goal of using of having a good mod is that you're able to forget that it's a mod and that it just feels like a natural part of the game. So what I like collaborating with people like some guy, Long 15, is that I want to take the opportunity that I can to contribute something that's going to help that goal of having quality armor assets that achieve the end goal of feeling like something new and high quality rather than just recycled assets.
Can I just say as well, excuse me, just say as well, you mentioned Long 15. Shout out to Whiteout, who's in
Yeah.
Toxic Whiteout,
Yes,
who's
sir.
actually
Thanks
in
for
the
joining
chat,
us.
and
Oh,
his team. So yeah, I mean, like
yeah.
we've had them on, we've interviewed them, and just like a quick shout out. Can I ask? Right, this is gonna be like this is me raw. I'm gonna be like proper selfish here, right? Here we
Go
go.
ahead.
I'm gonna ask Drag a couple of questions about Fallout lore and his interpretation of it, right? So I'm
Yeah.
genuinely curious. I always love asking creators about stuff like this. So here we go. There's a question, right? From me, which Fallout faction do you think is the most misunderstood by the fan base?
That is a good question. You know, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that without just like live going through. Let's see. So I think that
This is going to get chat. This is going to get chat interacting, by the way.
no. Well, I think that there is a sort of transparent way that at first you're supposed to respond to each faction.
Yeah,
Where if you go and play Fallout 3, the Brotherhood of Steel is the good guys, and the Enclave represent this sort of uh, oppressive government that uh,
yeah,
is acting like it's patriotism, but it's actually very nasty. And so, and then the same thing with New Vegas, where you've got the NCR, which stands for the rule of law and democracy, and you've got the Legion on the other side of the river with slaves and just condemning other tribes to their subjection. And so it's pretty transparent how you're supposed to at least initially relate to these groups as well. I think that, uh, and in full disclosure, I'm not caught up to speed on the second season of the show, but it seems
yeah,
almost like I think that Mr. House was very open to interpretation. I mentioned Deviated earlier from Gun Network. I remember him writing a long post one time about just how admirable House's goals were, and which faction do you stand for. He was like, I'm House. um, me personally, when I play, I don't identify with any faction. Like, oh, this is the faction I
yeah,
identify with. I
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
pick a courier and play the role. But I thought his post was actually quite compelling. I don't know that I would say, oh yeah, I'm pro house too, but I thought he made a lot of good points that warranted consideration. It's
Yeah,
been a long time
absolutely.
since I read that. But then to see at least the first episode of the second season of the show, and you've got the ghoul saying, "No, nowhere near Mr. House is safe," and it seems at least from the beginning of the second season that House is kind of a diabolical character.
Mm.
And I just wonder. Um, this is where I think you've got the most room for interpretation. Like, are we going to go down this path where he has admirable goals, or is he just like this greedy capitalist that will step on anybody to ensure longevity for himself, or who knows? So, um, yeah, I
No,
hope
that
that is a
no,
sufficient answer to your question.
no, that's amazing. That's the kind of stuff I love to hear. I'm always fascinated about the Fallout lore and the modders' interpretation of it. And just like one last little thing I'll add on to it is like obviously you've modded and adjust let's say adjusted some of the factions and things like that. So has your view of, like, let's just say the Legion or the NCR or any other factions changed over the time that you've worked on them?
Um, my view of them didn't change so much, but I will say that personally, one of the more difficult things to work on, and this, it's semi or not even semi, just controversial. One of my more recent mods was the Tale of Two Wastelands character pack, where I did a bunch of NPCs from Fallout 3, and one of the ones that I did was Clover.
Mm,
And when you look at the history, and you can see some other people that have written about, or and not written, but well, also written, but done videos about like how kind of controversial this character is. Clover is a brainwashed sex slave, more or less.
mm, yeah.
And you got to wonder, like, okay, this came out in what, 2008? Would this character even be written into a game in the political climate of
Oh yeah,
2026?
absolutely, man.
Yeah, and so just going in and uh, changing the way that her character looks. I made sure that I provided an alternative file that removed the bomb collar from her neck. Like had the original bomb collar because this is the way the game was created. But I don't enjoy seeing any individual subjected to the sort of life that this character was with a bomb collar strapped around their neck.
Mm. Yeah.
And you can look and say, in a post-apocalyptic world, this sort of thing would be happening. Okay, sure. But then to go and um, interact with it at that close of a level where I'm determining how the character looks while this is happening, that is personally challenging to wonder, like, do I stick to the lore here, or do I do something different? Do I sort of like low key redeem this character or insert some political correctness to it? And somebody commented on this version of Clover at one point, talking about how if you change her outfit, that she has a neck seam because the neck doesn't fully connect to the body. And I will say that that was more or less intentional because I had and I could picture, what if somebody wanted to use a mod that is highly sexualized and wanted to then take this character that I've modded the appearance of and combine it with something that allowed sort of sexual activity to take place with this character. And it's like, I'm not okay with that. Like that doesn't sit well with me. And so yeah, the fact that there is a giant neck seam there, if you do something that would, like, say, give her a nude body, um, yeah, that's something you've got to contend with. So didn't want to contribute to that.
Yeah, man. Oh, no, excuse me. Yeah, man. All fascinating stuff for me, man. Yeah, just like the you know how you talked about the creative process there in terms of that character and the sort of challenges you face with it as well. I mean, yeah, all fascinating stuff. Raw, have you got a couple more things for him?
Of course. So you were also talking about some of your history and like Fallout's lore and whatnot.
Mm.
Do you have experience with the original Fallout games?
Oh,
Like I told you, I started with New Vegas.
Hmm.
At one point, I said, let's try Fallout 3. And I played Fallout 3 on Xbox. It was fun. I remember seeing a behemoth for the first time. After several New Vegas playthroughs, I was like, what the hell is this giant bastard?
Right.
Like, I'll never forget that. I did recently actually try to go back and give Fallout 2 a play. And in that moment, I didn't have the patience to figure out how the gameplay worked, and I said, I'm coming back to this. And so all of the earlier games, I must admit, I am missing out on at this point. But I have played everything since New Vegas.
So you know of the games at least, so you have a like at least a surface level understanding of Fallout
Yeah,
1 and 2 and how they differ from like Bethesda's take on Fallout, correct?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so with the shift from Fallout 2's post-apocalyptic world showing society rebuilding, and I know you haven't watched the show, but I know that you've heard of the bomb blowing up in Shady Sands. Like the
Yeah. So
only
I saw
semblance.
season one. So yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I do know that.
Like the only like semblance of society rebuilding. Uh, which showed society rebuilding. The Fallout 3 and 4's more desolate, bombs just drop type feel. That was a major change. What do you personally prefer? Like in a wasteland recovering in a complex, unique environment, or do you prefer the more chaotic and raw survival sandbox that Bethesda tends to lean toward?
I think that the best is a balance of both. If you've played Cyberpunk,
mm,
it's there is this sort of city in the middle where it's very bustling, very vibrant, a lot happening, and then you can just get into a car and drive outside the city, and
yeah,
it's more desolate.
yeah,
I feel like uh, a real Fallout situation you're going to have both societies trying to rebuild, and then in the outskirts, you're going to have people trying to tear it down. And so I think New Vegas is actually a good balance of that, because what you've got is you've got the city that was preserved from the bombs, where you've got the strip, you've got a free side that is more or less settled. You know, you've got gangs or whatever, but you can go in and it's not utter survival with raiders coming in. But then you can go out on the outskirts and find the fiends or find other evidence of raider activity.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things that I like about New Vegas, is that it has room for both that post apocalyptic rebuilding, and the sort of you're living in the post apocalypse, and these people are going to kill you and take everything you have as a means for survival. Yeah.
It's kind of like excuse me. I know you were talking about Fallout 1 and 2 there, but what you just said there kind of resonates with me, but it more resonates more with me with Fallout 1 and 2, because at the start I felt like, and I'm talking Fallout 1 and specifically here, right, is you would be wandering the wasteland, and a lot of it was quite desolate. You obviously went into shady sands and stuff like that, and it wasn't a bustling, place. It was like I'll call it a town or a village and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, when you found the hub, that was a bustling environment. There was a lot of stuff going on in there. There was so many quests and stuff like that. And like then you would encounter a necropolis as well, and that was the city of the dead, all the ghouls and things like that. And also in Fallout 2, when you actually excuse me, when you got into, what was the town right at the bottom? It was like San Francisco right at the bottom again. It was like a total different culture, and it was a bustling place, and I love that sort of thing. Like you perfectly described it. From 1 minute you could be, what was the game? What was the game you said? You'd be
Punk.
out and about. Yeah, cyberpunk.
Yeah.
You'd be in amongst the bustling city with all the people going about, and then you could go out in the sticks in the car, and it's like a completely different environment. And I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I love that comparison you used, man. But yeah, it kind of resonates a little bit with my first time of playing Fallout 1. Just coming at the vault, especially, going, oh, what do I do now? What the hell do I do actually? Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna wander. You enter Shady Sands, you find Vault 15, but then all of a sudden, then there's Junktown, and then bang, there's the hub, and you just kind of go, whoa, wow, this game is like out there now. It's huge. It's like, and it's
Hmm.
the possibilities are kind of endless. In terms of role playing, it's one of
Yeah.
those ones that are great.
Yeah, definitely. You get outside the walls, and it's one type of activity. Get inside the walls, and you've got a society that's trying to rebuild itself. Yeah, I love seeing that portrayed.
Yeah, man.
The original team behind like that type of Fallout. I mean, obviously, some of the key writers and developers from the OG Fallouts came back from New Vegas, like with Chris Avalon being a major writer. He recently stated too that he feels Bethesda doesn't fully understand or care about the franchise's original roots, reviewing it as more of a quote unquote colorful, shallow theme park. From your perspective, working within that theme park for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, do you agree with that assessment?
So, in order to know if that assessment is correct, I would have to both understand the original roots from in a way that Chris Avalon would sign off on,
Right.
and Bethesda's approach. But insofar as I can interpret them from where I'm sitting, I can see what he's talking about. Uh, Like if you go and play 76, just go to Nuka World and go listen to Cappy talking. There's
Right.
so much um, sort of just oddity, just little like Fallout's very much about the juxtaposition between this retro futuristic, sort of goofy world where you got these robots. Hi, how can I help make your day better, sir? And then there's just a death claw coming up from behind it and
Yeah.
swiping it off the map.
Can I just
And
interject here? Sorry
yeah.
to cut in, but I was about to ask this question, but it sounds like you're going to answer it. But I'm going to put my little spin on it. So what I've seen from your work, a lot of it leans into like the grit and the harshness and realism of the Fallout universe. and I think you're about to just answer it, but I just want to clarify. But like, what do you think the Fallout should be like aesthetically? You know, the world and stuff like that. How, you know, a lot of people like the dark side of it, but you were kind of leaning onto like the goofy robot side. What do you think of that, Drag?
Oh, I like both of it. I think in the
Oh,
same way we were just talking about having a balance between the post-apocalyptic rebuild and the outside the walls raw
yeah,
chaos. I think that a the aesthetic of the care of the people living in this world should reflect both. That you're
yeah,
going to have the sort of polished, say, chairman inside the tops, and then you're going to have the raiders on the outskirts, and these should look very different from each other. And I think that that is a lot of what I try to capture when I'm making mods. That if it's a raider, that they look properly psycho
yeah,
and scary, and if it's someone who's more clean and refined, that they look more clean and refined.
yeah.
So yeah, I think there's definitely room for both, and not just that there's room, but that each has a place and belongs. And so then the trick is the balance.
It's yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, and it's like um it's the Fallout. It's like the kind of Fallout charm, you know, like the music, the you know the sort of stuff that's played, you know, the intro music, the
Hmm.
what is it called? Don't what's that? I'm
Like
struggling to
the
remember
ink
the song.
spots or
Exactly, that's what I was
I
trying to
don't
say.
want to set the
That's
world.
it.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
just read my mind. You've got it. You got it. That's what I was trying
Hmm.
to say. But you know, it's that charm, isn't it? And then all of a sudden, it turns very dark, and you're just like, wow, it's something that I hadn't seen before in a game. You know, you chatted about Cyberpunk. There was a game I played back in the day. It was called Shadowrun. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
I'm
but
not, no.
it was on the SNES. But it was like, you know, it was kind of cyberpunk, but it involved a lot of like involved in like the fantasy side of it. So I had orcs, mages, and magic in there as well, and you know it was a real, you know, it was a whole different thing that I hadn't seen before for an RPG, and the Fallout thing. That I'm talking about as well. That kind of had the same impact on me, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. You know, it was
Yeah.
one of those. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's got that. It needs to have the balance, right? You need to have the grit, but you also have the humor as well, and it has to be done well. Um, and what do you think? Do you think the TV show's done it justice in terms of that?
In terms of that, I think that whenever you take a franchise that's as well loved as the Fallout franchise, and then you're going to put it on screen, everyone's invested in, are they going to do it right? Are they going to do it the way that I invested it? This happens with books, happens with video games, and I guess for me personally, I'm not invested in, am I going to like the show? Insofar as I have to answer the question, is it going to make me like the game less? Like I can kind of hold each separately in my mind, even though I
Mm,
know that, canonically they're connected in certain ways. But whether or not the show is good, I'm still going to love New Vegas, and I'm still going to hold New Vegas
yeah,
in the same regard. But to answer the question, at least speaking for the first season, I think it's fun. I think there's things that I would have done differently. There's things that I think were done well. There's things that I think are funny, and it's entertaining. And I think that um, if we can kind of strip away that investment of, are they going to do it justice and do it the way that they should, and sort of just pull those expectations back for a second and say, like, just imagine this was a different universe than the Fallout universe and it was just a fun show. Would you still like it? And I think it's fun in that way, for sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Raw.
I'm actually going to interject with some community comments that we've had coming in. I've been having some
Yeah,
people on hold for a little bit now.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna butcher these names too, so please just forgive me. Sambrinas was asking, wanted to ask one of your recent works, how did you feel when you started your work on Lucy, Ghoul, and Maximus? And to follow that up, Sir Bucklow was asking, when will those characters be released?
Yeah. So, how did I feel when I started? I was very excited because whether or not you like, whatever your feelings are on the connection between the lore of the game and the show, like the assets look good. The Ghoul is an interesting character. He's funny. Lucy's also, I think, funny. Maximus is, you know, he. I'm less connected to his character. I feel like I haven't seen the second season yet. I want to see how he develops because I feel like he was so just kind of there in the first
Yeah,
season,
sure.
but was sort of brave insofar as he had to be. Um, so I hope that I want to see some more character development from him. Um, but you know, Lucy has a very strong point of view. The Ghoul has a strong point of view, and so I was excited to bring all three of them into the game because I could imagine a lot of players would enjoy having them in their game in whatever capacity. So, as far as when they'll be available, it's just a little bit of polishing that I want to do to get those ready, and it's not too terribly much work that needs to be done, so it shouldn't be long.
We also had local artist Patty Dunn Did It asking, have you ever thought of potentially bringing some Fallout 1 and 2 assets, well, items, over to 3 in New Vegas?
Oh, good question. I like that.
Um, no, I haven't thought about it because, as we said earlier, I haven't played those games.
Right.
I wonder if I did go back and play them, would it say, "Oh, I really want to bring this over"? Possibly, but then my ability to do so would be determined by what work needed to be done to create those assets.
So on that same type of note, what are some of your biggest technical challenges that you face when creating your mods? And how has the modding process changed from when you started 10 to 15 years ago to today?
So technical challenges for me is just a few things of, always learning. Like I said, most of what I've learned has been through trial and error. There isn't like a school you go to for the New Vegas modding curriculum. Different people have different opinions about the way things should be done and what's best. Uh, and I've learned things recently that have sort of changed the way that I've done certain processes for years. What I think is most interesting about the way modding has changed, I you can definitely see like a different generation of modders that are in this game now.
Right.
Um, and it's people that grew up with the game and then got into modding. So, for example, I'll mention my friend Bale. He's a person who is like half my age. Okay, and so I got into modding when I already had a full-time job, and it wasn't possible for me to say, "Oh, I'm going to go to school for computers and learn how to get into game development because I have a passion about this." It's something I'm doing in my spare time, and there's a lot of people that have grown up with this game and have grown up with access to modding tools, and they're getting into just more people doing things like ZBrush and Substance Painter, and learning how to use programs that are creating things more from the ground up, rather than where a lot of initial original modders were doing mashups and just sort of editing the existing assets. So you've got a lot of people that just have a much more technical skill that they can bring to modding because they've grown up with new programs that weren't even accessible 15 years ago. And so that has opened up this like new this whole new realm of possibility with the mods that exist. Just the quality of mods is amazing for a game that is as old as it is.
So obviously you've done a lot of work with the creation engine, and but this
Yeah.
has been modifying that same engine for well over a decade at this point. And many fans and even modders that I know have pointed to the limitations and bugs as a core problem. Um, from your stance, do you feel that this holds the franchise back? What are some of the biggest frustrations that you have personally when, working with the creation engine and pushing it to its limits?
Yeah, so as far as pushing the engine to the limits, I feel that there's some other modders whose work really does that a bit more. The work that I'm
Right.
doing is kind of working within the guardrails of just, it may be using higher resolution textures than the vanilla game had. It might be using higher poly counts.
Mm.
But one thing that I really wish was different was that we just don't have cloth physics. And other games at
Mm.
the time of Fallout 3 and New Vegas had cloth physics. And the fact that if I want to do now, say, a Brotherhood Scribe robe or an NCR Ranger duster, that you have to assign bone weights to the leg bones for these things and try to just tweak them so that they don't look like they're stretching and bending, where you could just look back at other games that had proper cloth physics. I really wish that we could inject some cloth physics back into New Vegas. It would help a lot of outfits.
No, that's sick. See when you're talking about physics and
Yeah.
stuff like that, I instantly thought of Red Dead Redemption 2. You know how they did that as well. You know, I know that game's not like is it a modder stream? It's not really, is it? You can't really mod it at all. I've not seen many mods. Rock, have you seen mods for Red Dead?
Nothing
There
like what
are
we see
people
for
out there
Fallout.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there are people modding it. I haven't played it personally, and so I haven't tried to mod it. But I do know. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a Nexus page for it.
Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, we're starting a petition to get Dragbody to play Red Dead Redemption 2. We're gonna have a revolution in the modding scene, and it's starting here.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
could
you
do
know,
that, but I'm going to have to take some time off creating mods in order to do it. So there's going to be a push and pull.
Get Lucy and everybody out from the TV show, and then take all the time you need.
yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of like how polished that everything is in Red Dead. In
Mhm.
terms of like the cloth physics and just like the general attention to detail and like things like the snow footprints and I could go on and on and on. But there was a question and kind of relating to what you're talking about. Well, not what you're talking about, but has there like been a dream project for you, Fallout or otherwise, that you've never had the chance to make? Like, I mean, is there anything that's like it tickled your fancy really?
So my dream project, based on where I'm at right now, is if I could just freeze time and take all of my faction overhauls that I've worked on and just redo all of them. And not that everything would be totally different, but that there's a lot that I would redo, remaster, animate all the eyes, just drop it
Yeah.
as a completed all-in-one project. That would really be my dream because the way that my faction overhaul started, it was um, and basically my second NCR overhaul. I did the one for the Nexus that has quite a lot of downloads, but it's also very old. And I did a new one where I said I'm going to redo that. I'm going to use all these new assets, and I thought it looked kind of cool, especially at the time. I felt differently about it. Looking back at it now, I just think like these outfits didn't hit the vanilla aesthetic at all. Didn't even try.
Yeah.
And but during that project um, was when I first had the idea to modify the NPCs and give unique player races or NPC races to all these characters. And it wasn't something that I like sat and plotted out and planned and then started. It's just sort of been developing as it went. So you can kind of look back at the history of my releases and see my growth over time and my aesthetic change over time. And now this year I've got a third large NCR overhaul planned, which I've posted an image of a lot of the character designs for that. It's going to include a lot of overhauls of the NPCs. And back then, I wasn't as intentional about making the new the new character races really match their vanilla aesthetic. It was just like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a white woman. Let's give her a white woman race. This is a black guy. Let's give him a black guy race. And it was
Yeah.
like the fact that one had a big beard and the other didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't. I didn't flag that at the time, and now I go, gosh, these characters that I created don't look like their vanilla counterparts. I need to fix that, and that's something that I have paid more attention to in my recent mods. So dream project would be to just polish that and drop it in one download that was just easy for everyone. And I think I'm slowly working my way there.
Wait, Raw. Sorry, are you okay for me? I've got a two-part question. Are you cool with this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So you were talking about overhaul projects. Sorry. What advice would you give to like new modders? Because I know a lot of modders are in the building in chat right now. There's a lot of inspiring modders and well-established modders as well that are going to be probably listening to this. So again, what advice would you give to modders who want to take on ambitious overhaul projects? And what's the one thing you wish players, like actual players of the game, understood better about mod authors?
Yeah, two very different questions. I think for any aspiring modders, there are sort of corners of the mod community. They're very saturated, and
Yeah,
then there are corners that haven't really been sort of developed yet. And it's a free market. If anybody who wants to get in, if you think, yeah, sure, there's been 100 weapon mods for the 10 millimeter or whatever, I'm going to do my version of the 10 millimeter. Go for it. Yeah, Dragbody's done an NCR overhaul. I want to do my NCR overhaul. Go for it. But I think that I would advise at least trying to find something that others haven't developed yet and see, like, can you put your mark on developing something that has previously been neglected? Because if you're not doing that, you're going to be going head to head and competing with other mods for attention, and then you're going to have the
yeah,
community
yeah,
split on should we use ENB, should we use NVR? I think NVR is pretty much won that at this point, but for a while that was a question. Are we using Millennia's weapons, or are we using Postman's weapons? Or there's versions of these. I'm not involved in any sort of these actual debates. I'm just sort of speculating on what they might be. Or so if you could avoid that by just developing something that hasn't been touched yet, I think your mods will be greeted with a sort of immediate warm welcome. Whereas if you're going to be competing with other mods, it's going to be a little tougher
yeah,
to make your mark felt. And as far as what I wish people understood more about modders, I guess I would say that I think that players should understand that modders are people,
yeah,
and that at the end of the day, I'll use myself as an example. I work a full-time job where on most days I'm there at 7 a.m. Probably, and it's half an hour there, half an hour drive there. Work probably until 6 p.m. Leave anywhere from an hour and a half drive home in traffic. A lot of the days I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go do jujitsu anywhere from 2 to 5 times a week, depending on what classes I can get into. And then I'm going to come home and need to spend time with my girlfriend. And so the modding that I'm doing is what time I can carve out of my week that isn't taken up by all those things that I just mentioned.
yeah,
And it's not easy. So like I have to make this a priority because it would be easy to not. And so some people can get very sort of, and I haven't experienced this much. I used to see it happen to some other people, but there's kind of a sense of entitlement of, where's this thing? You've been teasing this. Where's it at? I want this.
yeah,
Or like you can see sort of glimpses of that sort of behavior, and just realize that no one wants to release a mod that's not ready for release. And so people can't rush things, and they all have real lives. And I say that as a person who um, lives relatively comfortably, all things considered. I can feel busy most weeks, but I'm not worried about where my next meal is going to come from. We can look globally and realize that there are a lot of people in very different positions, and you don't know what position some of these people are in. There are people in the modding community that live in Ukraine. There's one guy that I used to commission to make head sculpts for me. I haven't heard from him since the war started. I don't know where he's at or if he's okay or not. There's another guy, Zeramot, who is a good friend who's helped with a lot of asset extraction for mods that I've used in the past and makes Fallout 4 mods. And I check in with him, and he gets back with me sort of intermittently when he's got power, when he's not in the basement because there's drones flying overhead. And there's other members of the community that I don't want to speak on their behalf, but we know that they're there and that they're impacted. And you could be at home thinking, why hasn't so and so released this mod yet? Like maybe it's because they're hiding in their basement. You,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it could be serious. It's
It's
not
a
just that.
realization, right? It's a
Yeah,
huge realization.
they're not tormenting you. They're not teasing you. They're not trying. It's not personal. Like you have to give modders the time and space they need. And another thing that I've also realized over time, and I noticed this with a fair number of people. So if anybody is listening to this that is a friend of mine and you think I'm talking about you, I promise you I'm not. There's a lot of people that I've known a lot of modders over time that deal with various mental health issues. Like depression can be a very common one. And I don't know if it's just because as gamers we like to sit in a dark corner of our room and just sit at the computer and not go out and get sunlight and socialize. I don't know. I don't know. But this is a real thing. Like I know a lot of people that they'll have an ambitious work in progress mod, and then you don't hear from them for 6 months, or this was almost ready, and now the project is incomplete, and um, there it's almost like a lot of these modders are tortured artists, and you never know what sort of mental health situation someone is in. And you can make comments like these people are impervious to whatever sort of negativity you have in your comment, and some players can feel like modders exist to serve their sort of mod usage desires, but modders are people, and you need to give them the full consideration of people.
Oh
100%.
man.
100%. Love that comment. Love that answer, should I say? Raw?
Uh, oh Lord.
Oh, he's gone. What's
No,
happening?
I'm good. I'm good. Uh, I agree. Like that gets that goes on past the modders, like down to just general content creation in general. I feel like I stand by what Drag said 100%. On a brighter note, if you had the opportunity to work on an official Fallout game, what would be like a dream asset, or like what type of content would you love to have showcased to the world in an official game made by you?
That's a good question. So I have uh, I'm driving to work, and that commute I just mentioned, drive by lottery billboards, where you see $300 million for a lottery winner being advertised on the billboard. And I think if I had that money, what would I do? Yeah, I'd be in charge of this. I'd be making a Fallout game, and I guess just being hands-on involved uh, with the aesthetic and creative process of bringing the factions and characters to life. That's what I would, I'd love to be commissioning artists and hiring artists and viewing the concept art and sort of directing that and help bringing that to life. I think one of my biggest inspirations actually was if you remember this game, Rage, the very first
Yeah,
Rage that
yep.
came out.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember playing that game after a while. It had been out for a while, and I played it, and all of the characters that you come across were so unique. They all had their own uh, outfit and face model and textures. They were all unique head to toe, and they were very animated. They just felt very alive and vibrant, and that just felt very different than seeing characters that were all made using the same character creation kit, which yeah, you can see the differences in them. There's and more modern versions of the creation kits like it are better at establishing variety, but it's hard to use a creation kit like that and get the same results as just top to bottom new assets. And just seeing that in Rage is what it's one of the inspirations that I took into my character overhauls for New Vegas, just wanting to see these top to bottom new characters that just bring the character to life that it's there to represent. And if I was working on an official Fallout title, I would love to see that sort of care and attention given to every faction and NPC.
That's something I did. I actually downloaded some mods on Fallout 4 because, like you say, like from my experience, the raiders and like the gunners and stuff like that, for example, were very generic. So that
Mhm.
there's overhauls that made them, all unique and stuff like that, which I find, for immersion and things like that is like golden for a Fallout game, and it's funny that you mentioned Rage because even Rage 2, which I played recently because it was on sale and I got it, but I can see exactly where you're coming from, right? But here's a question, right? Very, very, again, it's another a selfish personal question. What would you think of a Fallout set in Scotland?
Oh, set in Scotland. Um, I'll be honest, I've never been to Scotland,
Right.
so I mean, in principle, I'm not against it. It's why not? You know, you tell me what cultural aspects could it lean into? What sort of geographic aspects could it lean into? Yeah, as long as the raw materials there to work with, I'm for it. I'm for any new Fallout content as long as it's engaging.
I'm thinking, right? So, Scotland is renowned for being very scenic and stuff. It has its
Yeah.
castles, it has, it has its hills, and but it also has bustling places like, you've got Glasgow, you've got Edinburgh, and they're all like, different places, and I would just and also we've got a very unique population, shall we say, right? We've got uh we've got people that could, you know, be very, very good raiders, very good like aggressive people, shall we say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that, like, if like there was the Fallout universe was set in Scotland, I think it would be a very good scene and it'd be a mix, because obviously we've had Fallout London, we've had the Fallout London sort of
Yeah. I was gonna
mod.
say, yeah, it's been
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Do
it's
it.
been done, and
Get some folks together.
I know I would love that honestly, like just to see what it's something that I've not experienced because you guys have kind of been spoiled with it because like Fallout, you've got Fallout 3, set in Washington and places like that, places you can relate to. It's got monuments and all that sort of stuff. You've got
Mhm.
you've got all places that you can relate to. I've not really had a game where I could relate to specific areas. Like we have the Wallace's Monument, for example. Excuse me. We have Stirling Castle and things like that, and it would be absolutely crazy to see that sort of universe brought to Scotland. With raiders and um, you could have raider gangs that are Highland warriors. You could have, like the possibilities are endless. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. My mind's going crazy right now thinking about stuff that could be in there.
Totally.
Aye, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to see. I wanted to think just to see what you thought of it because it'd be a different it'd be a switch, wouldn't it, from that sort of the American vibe to like the I would call it the I don't know the brash version of Scotland, like that like the
Yeah.
people trying to survive and things like that. Yeah, it would just be really interesting. Well, it was interesting to pose the question and also listen to your answer.
Yeah. I think that being able to go and visit the areas that inspired certain locations in a game is
Yeah.
always very interesting. Raw and I had this opportunity not too
Oh
long
yeah.
ago in Las Vegas, going out
Yes,
to
sir.
Good Springs and Prim, and that's very surreal. I
Mm.
actually, before, um, independent of a Fallout fan day, I was on a road trip where I stopped in Good Springs and went to a lot of New Vegas or Las Vegas areas that inspired New Vegas locations just on my own in September of 23. And it's
Mm.
very, very, very cool to go and be there. Um, yeah, the main image, the image of me on my Patreon page is just me standing in front of the Prospector Saloon. I was there probably 9 o'clock in the morning, not a person in sight, and that is very different than having 5,000 people standing in line outside the Prospector Saloon
Yeah.
during the fan day. Yeah, um,
I've
yeah,
got to I've got to say, like, AI Colonel just said, and I've got to quote his little message in chat. He's saying, first Easter egg would be, this is for Fallout Scotland, by the way. He's saying, first Easter egg would be, would be Nessie, and then go try and find Blue himself.
Sure, yeah. Put him
Yeah.
in put him in 76. That's a cryptid right there for you. That's perfect.
Yeah, man. I always wanted to, like, there's another modder on here. He's Lieber the Hermit. He's in chat right now. He is. He'd made a character for us that I was like a kind of raider enclave guy. That I was going to voice, but I couldn't get around to it just due to a schedule and stuff, like, life, all that sort of stuff. But that would be my dream, to be like in a Fallout Scotland game, as some
Yeah.
sort of badass raider, some asshole raider, because I think I could pull it off.
Yeah, I believe it.
Raw, what you got?
AI Colonel was also asking, back on your dream Fallout, what would the location be?
Location be, I don't have a dream. I've actually thought about this, and like I love New Vegas so much.
Mm.
I can't imagine a new game set in a location that I go, oh, this one would be good. That would be better than what I already feel when I play New Vegas. So I guess what I would do is I would ask the community, like, hey, give me something better, please, because if it's better than New Vegas, then I'm gonna love it. But for now, I'm happy with New Vegas. Like if I had to pick, if I inherited the rights to the Fallout franchise and I had to pick between New Vegas 2 or a new a Fallout set in a new location, I'm probably going with New Vegas 2.
Oh, that's interesting.
How
Yeah,
would you
yeah.
Yeah.
approach that? Okay,
How,
who
how would
would
I?
win? How would you make it
Yeah.
to where not a single, ending was canon?
So I think this is a good question that can address some of the controversy around the television show too, with people not being happy with directions that the show has gone. I think that what we have in the original game is you don't have to pick which ending is canon. You just have four canonical endings. Because the Fallout franchise is already an offshoot of our world, right? So
Mm.
if we picture a world of like branching universes and a multiverse sort of situation, which I know the Marvel, and so if there were no limitations, um, I don't think that you can make one game. Uh, like you could imagine having the game start differently depending on which ending you took as canonical. Um, but then if they all kind of funneled back um, to the same set of events in the game, then it would be like what happens at the end of New Vegas doesn't really matter because it all ends up in the same sequence of events later in New Vegas 2. I would just make four new games. If there was no restriction on time and resources, just make a New Vegas 2 that follows the events of all four canonical endings.
There you go.
Um,
There you go.
Yeah.
so
I mean,
as
personally.
we're oh, my bad. Go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Continuing on with just hypotheticals. Piper in chat was also asking your thoughts on a Great Lake region Fallout game with themed merchants that travel by water, Annex Canada DLC, and a Rust Belt exploration.
Yeah, that sounds good. I guess anything could, in theory, work. It's all going to be an execution. Something set on the water could be very cool, for sure. Yeah. One thing that we talked about in our little get to know you chat yesterday offline.
Pitch then for the Frontier, and what excites? Could you give some backstory on what it actually is, and
Yeah.
like what excited you about it?
So the Frontier is a project that developed over many, many years. A sort of rework of it is still in the works. But the original was started by a modder named maybe Next Time. His real name was Andrew. And so Andrew didn't really bring any modding skills to the table. He just talked to people. He had a way of like getting people on board to help him with his ideas, and wanted to create videos and generate hype. And so what Andrew did was, somehow he pitched an idea of a mod in a snowy environment to Macintrol, and got Macintrol to build this snowy world space for him. And Jason was working on a winter mod at that time, and he said, "Oh, this is great. I'll just put all these winter assets I've been working on into this project." And then Andrew had approached me and said, we talked about it for a while, and he said, "Hey, how would you like to be in charge of armors?" And I said, eventually, I agreed. I said, "Okay, I'll do armors." And the interesting thing about this project is that at this point, when we're working on this mod in these early stages, there was no story. The story was something to be done later, and this sort of became uh, the modus operandi of the mod until kind of late, where Andrew would just go and recruit people. Any mod project or any release that had a modder showing some sign of talent, he was like, "Hey, join the Frontier team. Come do whatever it is you're doing, and do it for the Frontier." And I remember not long after he said, "All right, Drag, you're going to be in charge of armors." He went to another friend of mine and was recruiting him to work on armors. And then my friend told me, he said, "Yeah, I'm contributing to the Frontier. I'm doing this armor." I said, "Really? I didn't know about that, and I'm in charge of armors." And he said, "Yeah, Andrew basically just told me I could do whatever I wanted, and that they would write it in." And so that was the way this was going. It was a total tail wagging the dog situation, where the story was totally secondary, and it was just assets being tossed in, and I got sort of alienated from it and disillusioned. I was still friends with a couple people working on it, Jason being one of these people. And so I would, if he ever approached me and said, "Hey, we need this rigged. Can you do this armor? Can you do this creature?" I did a little bit of that kind of stuff on the side for the project. Um, but what ended up happening was, at some point they recruited Devil's Wish, and Devil's Wish was the one who was doing all these crazy scripted events like the Vertibird dogfight and like the Legion Walk of Shame. And when Devil's Wish came in, he kind of hijacked the mod, because what he was able to do with the story and these scripted events, he could do, and no one else could pick up where he left off. So as a result, he kind of just got to do whatever it was he wanted to do, and it was just Devil's Wish doing what Devil's Wish wanted to do at that point. Which is why you have things like going into space and a space station at some point in the mod,
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I wasn't highly involved in sort of mid to late stages of development of that mod. I do know that eventually they voted Andrew out because he was just there generating hype and wasn't contributing and wasn't really helping. And they brought TG Spy in, and he took over. And somehow he got the mod to release. Um, I don't know how it looked with him sort of reigning in Devil's Wish, and at what point the story kind of got nailed down. But some players of the mod might even debate whether or not a story was nailed down.
Not at all.
So yeah, and then there was a controversy that followed after release, and but that was at least my initial involvement with the mod.
How difficult was it to keep a consistent vision across such a large team? Because obviously that must have been, like, the development challenges involved in that must have been quite big.
Oh, it was. So, I mean, it was impossible to keep a consistent vision. The mod is itself just the sum of many disconnected visions. And, let me not speak authoritatively on the mod that, I contributed to a little bit, but not nearly as much as some of these other people, like TG Spy, Zalandro, Macintrol, Jason. They did so much. But what ended up happening with that mod is that I think people just trusted that there was quality assurance and oversight, and that there was really a conductor uh, behind the scenes, making sure it all came together. And what we found out upon release and when people started playing this is that that wasn't the case, at least not as much as it needed to be, which is where certain things came to light, where there was controversial content, like uh, very controversial sexualized content, things like that. And it was just, it's not like everybody who was working on the mod knew about all that. No one knew. No one
Yeah.
knew outside, unless you had played an early access version of the mod. You just knew what you contributed. You didn't know what other people were doing. And so you were just trusting that the other contributions from other people were part of a consistent vision. And what we found out was that was not the case. And I felt really bad for some of my friends there, the guys I just mentioned. I know some of them were counting on the Frontier to sort of operate as a portfolio of theirs that they could use for going into the game industry professionally. And I don't know how that worked out, but it seems like the controversy behind that mod just sort of took any of those hopes and just fizzled out pretty quickly. So it's currently under redevelopment, and we'll see how that goes. I wish them all the best, but that's at least a little behind the scenes of how some of those problems came to be.
That's it's really interesting that 'cause, like hearing the backstory and stuff like that. But in hindsight, right, I'm just talking about sort of lessons and legacy in
Mhm.
terms of the Frontier. You think anything the Frontier team should have done differently? And I mean that again
Yeah.
positively. Is there anything about like Frontier use and that you still feel proud of that gets overlooked? Is there anything like that you could like share with us in terms of that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I think that the Frontier did a lot of really amazing things as far as the ways that they were able to push the limitations of the engine. I mean, for anybody who plays it, you can see that uh, there's some really cool stuff happening, and there's some really
Yes.
nice assets, some new creatures. There's a lot of things that the people who contributed them should be proud of.
Mm.
Some of the world building, uh, some of the scripting. Like, I don't see any vanilla developers scripting a vertebrate dogfight.
Yeah,
At least not in this old engine. But what I wish, and this is general advice that I would give to anybody, especially if you're working on a quest mod, is that that approach that Andrew took at the beginning is just poison of uh, let's just get some cool stuff and we'll write it in. The story can come later. Like, if you're going to make a quest mod, you need to have a story that deserves to be told. And then all the work that you do after is being done to bring the story to life,
yeah,
because it was a definite tail wagging the dog situation, and the mod suffered as a result of it. Had there been a concrete story, and not that it can't change, it could develop over time if you need to like rewrite this or that scene or rewrite the ending or something, but have a story that you're telling, and then the work that people are doing is to bring that story to life. And then you would avoid a lot of the problems that the Frontier ran into.
sure. No, appreciate again the honesty of the answer and stuff like that. And it's a great insight into the development and how the team operated itself. Yeah, really really fascinating, mate.
Yeah.
We've got Euro in the chat. He said that I need to ask you if Euro is your favorite. Favorite what? You fill in the blank.
It's what?
Yeah, I'm
Euro
confused.
wants to know,
I'm
is he
confused.
your favorite?
Is he my favorite?
Yes. And favorite
He's
what?
my
That's up to you.
uh, yeah, you're my favorite, bud. You number one for me. You're the number one commenter on the RawCast right now. Gold medal. I don't know.
You know who Euro is, right?
No. Who?
The
Oh.
created the
I
trailers.
IRO.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I was spelling it differently in my head. No, he has been a great supporter of my mods actually, and has brought awareness of them in a way that I really appreciate. So, all jokes aside, yeah, he's a good guy in my book, and I appreciate all he's done to help support me, especially in some corners of the mod community where not everybody has positive things to say about me. So I do appreciate that.
Where do you feel a lot of those negative things stem from? Is it the past? I know that there was a lot of talk around you and some of the other folks on Gun when there was a section of your your modding journey when you were just doing a whole lot of ports. We
Yeah.
briefly spoke on that. Do you feel like you still catch some flack for that, or is there modern pushback from the community that you're feeling?
So I know that there are little communities or people here or there that have a negative impression of definitely my mods, possibly me, even though I don't know that any of them know me. Um, I where it comes from would vary depending on which mod we're talking about, of course. Um, but I know that, just for example, one comment that I see pop up from time to time is that my mods have, I'm accused of having broken meshes, and that my mods require NVAC or they'll cause crashes. And I think that this particular comment, which I've seen more than once, is very interesting because this is true of exactly one armor, um, and that armor was an XO2 Tesla armor. So you mentioned earlier the Fallout 4 power armor ports that I did.
Right.
So I did a version of these power armors, and then my friend the Hermit really liked them, and he wanted to do a sort of more intense, as polished as it could be version of this. Let's get a few more paints. Let's
Thank you,
distribute
kind
them all in
sir.
the world. So he kind of
Glory to High
Hey,
Poly
sir,
took the
hold
mod.
that, hold that thought.
Yeah.
I
Glory to
apologize.
Quest
Hold that thought.
expansion.
Whew. Okay, we just got a super chat and the AI was talking over you. I sincerely
Ooh,
apologize. Shout out to Eero for that super fat 9.99 super chat though. Greatly appreciated, sir. He said, "Glory to high poly models, glory to Quest expansion."
okay. All right. So let me pick that back up then.
Yep, I apologize.
Um, so broken meshes requiring NVAC. This is true of one armor. And that armor was the XO2 Tesla armor. And this was my friend Hermit took the Fallout 4 power armors that I had done, and he was sort of putting them all into a slightly new version of the mod. And he reached out to YGSon and said, "Hey, can you give me some Tesla effects on this armor?" And so Wajison edited the armor and added in these Tesla effects, and then if you as the player equip that armor, I believe it crashes the game. I've never actually tried it personally, but I'm told it crashes the game. If NPCs are wearing it, it's okay, but if the player equips it, it crashes the game unless you have NVAC installed. And so this is the one and only example of this being true of quote unquote my mods having broken meshes that cause crashes. It's true of one armor that I didn't make and a mod I didn't release, but somehow the community understands that I have broken meshes that cause crashes. No one has ever pointed out any other mesh of mine that is broken. So there's some other people that I've been accused of not being creative. The word creative has been, I think, but by that what they
wow.
mean, I think by that what they mean is that I don't create things from scratch, which it's I guess that's kind of like if you go to a famous barber and say, yeah, but you didn't give birth to that person, so you're not creative. Like um, uh, whatever. I don't spend too much time in the weeds of those sorts of negative comments because um, it's just something that I literally don't have time for. It can take the wind out of your sails and just stop the sort of modding and creative process entirely. And so people are going to say whatever negative things they're going to say, and I just want to move on, and I want to be a part of a community that supports each other and is uplifting, and I really don't have time or space for the negativity.
The if you don't mind me asking, just like
Yeah.
staying on this sort of subject of like technical process and craft and stuff like that, right? The mod the armor mod you were just talking about, right? See, looking back, was that, if not, right, the what mod of yours was the biggest technical headache to complete? Was that probably it, or was there another one that really sticks out for you?
The biggest technical headache to complete.
Yeah.
So, um, there have been some just recently actually. I did a version of the tunnelers, and what I used was a model of a reptile skin from the most recent Mortal Kombat game, and sort of
Oh wow,
edited.
right.
Yeah, I edited that down to be a tunneler, and that took me probably 3 days
Really?
of solid work. Yeah, and 3 days is a lot when it's consistent work and a process that I'm very familiar with. So that was technically challenging. A lot of my mods at this point, it's sort of like I've got the process sort of on repeat. Right now, I'm working on a mod that was announced back on the New Vegas anniversary. It's called New Vegas Indiction. I'm doing it with my friend Bale. And one of the
Cool.
things that's technically challenging about this is that we are just trying to make it as clean and Bale is really great at optimization, just making it as vanilla friendly as possible, and
Mm,
just like stepping up the aesthetic so that it feels modern, while having as small of a performance, as small of an impact on performance as possible, but yet maintaining that high quality. And so we're putting in a lot of work on that mod, and there's some really cool stuff in it that I really look forward to sharing. But that is definitely also a technical challenge.
Speaking of, again, technical process and stuff, you've obviously clearly worked with meshes, textures, rigging, and ports and stuff like that, clearly. But what part of the process or pipeline do you enjoy the most, and what one, like, and this, I'm aiming this towards, obviously modders that are listening in here. Like, so what
Mhm.
part of the pipeline do you enjoy the most, and what do you dread? Is there anything that you actually dread when you're creating these meshes, textures, and things like that?
Yeah. So the part that I like the most, I think, is the bone weighting. There is, I think, a lot of people these days use Outfit Studio to kind of get an automatic uh, rigging done. I don't use Outfit Studio. I'm not familiar with that, but just sort of being hands-on and getting in there and really determining what vertices have which bone weights, and making sure that things move in a way that they should. Um, I enjoy that part, and that's one of the things that I've just done on repeat for years at this point, that feel I have a pretty good handle on. Honestly, one of the things that is the most tedious, and that I look forward to the least, is packing everything into an archive and putting it all in the GEC in a clean way. These processes are a little more tedious. There's not really a creative element to it. It's more just labor.
Yeah.
And if that was faster and easier, I feel like I've got a few works in progress that would probably be out by now if that process was a little easier. And and speaking of criticisms, things that people have said negatively about my mods, I did
Oh,
see
here we go.
one person before commented that my mod file organization was sloppy or disorganized or whatever.
Right.
Like, guilty as charged. Okay, like it doesn't impact the way the mod plays, but if you're going to go rooting around through the files, like in NifScope or something like that, like you might have to search for where the files are next to each other. Other people are a little bit more structured. I think if you know what the mod is you're making at the outset, rather than just playing with assets and seeing what comes out of it, that's a little bit easier too. Um, and sort of that disorganized file structure might have something to do with packing mods being tedious.
Yeah, no,
It
sounds.
seems it
Sorry,
seems
Rob, go
like
on.
such a nitpicky complaint, like someone was trying to reuse your content for something else potentially. Like a quote unquote sponge creator.
Bunge creator.
Sponge, SPONGE.
What do you mean?
The type that's out on the Nexus that use other people's work to kind of
Yeah,
boost
yeah, yeah,
themselves up.
Well, I'm
yeah.
glad you mentioned. Sorry. This might tie in. Sorry, Drag, to cut you off there, but
No,
this
no,
might
go
tie
ahead.
in. How do you feel about Nexus mods? Evolving policies in terms of mods and their impact on like veteran modders like yourself.
hmm Um, I don't take any issue with Nexus. I try to play by the rules.
Yeah,
I know that there are some people that have taken strong positions against certain things, and maybe because I'm not very invested on my mods being released on the Nexus all the time, that I haven't paid attention. I do know that I've seen some people with some pretty vehement responses to certain things like mod lists, and when they were doing when they started paid mods at one point. I know there's been some controversy, and I just haven't been hands-on enough with it to, um, know of anything that I take special issue with. I just am kind of thankful that they've created the platform that they have, and
yeah,
want to play by the rules as best as I can. And when those are rules that I don't want to play by, like releasing something that there's not technical copyright permission to do, then we just do it on a Discord. So yeah.
yeah. Have you ever felt like obviously you have distributed mods on many platforms, including Nexus and stuff like that, but have you ever felt like pressured to change or remove content because of platform rules or community standards or anything like that?
Um, Not that I can think of. No, nothing comes to mind. I've been doing
Do
this
you
for
always?
14 years, so maybe
Yeah.
something is maybe an hour from now I'll go, oh, I should have I should have said this, but nothing comes to mind immediately.
No, that's awesome. That's. I
Yeah.
mean, that's even better. And do you think like centralized platforms help or like sort of harm creative freedoms in modern communities? Like you've obviously been on like different platforms, like Gun, there's Nexus, there's all sorts. But centralized platforms, do you think they help or or harm it in your opinion?
Well, I think that people need to know where to go. There's so many
Yeah,
people that like Nexus has such a far reach that it brings a lot of people in. There are still people that have played the game for a long time that are still just my mods being an example of something that is available, outside the bounds of the Nexus, and people at their own pace sort of reach out into these various communities and find things over time. That would be even slower and harder to do if you didn't have the Nexus to kind of start from.
sure.
So uh, I'm grateful that they do present at least that starting point, even if it's not the end all be all of mods. And even though I know that there can be controversies amongst users and controversies amongst policies, but I do think that it's we would be in a much more diminished position with New Vegas modding if not for the Nexus.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, bro. We started this whole thing off, and I completely skipped over something. Where did your name come from? How are
Yeah,
you Dragbody?
I was gonna wait. I was gonna
Dragbody.
wait.
I saw somebody make a joke one time years ago, and they said because I ported armor models that I was dragging the
Oh
bodies from
my
other
god.
games and putting them into New Vegas.
He
And I
said
don't know if
bit.
that was meant as a joke or not, but
Yeah.
that's definitely not where it came from, even though I can see the humor in it. Um, my name came from I was playing Halo 1 on the original Xbox back probably 2001, something like that, shortly whenever the original Halo came out. And when you played that game, you needed to put in, I think it was something like 11 characters that you could pick, that you could use to make your player name.
Mm.
And I had a group of friends, and we would get together and do LAN parties, and we would just, this is back before Xbox Live even existed, and we're playing from one room to another, with a router in the middle of an apartment,
Oh, mate, they
and
were the
just
days. They were the days, man.
yeah, those were the days, right? I
Did it
remember
in college. So, yeah, go on.
packing up a TV and an Xbox and driving it to somebody to go like have a competitive match against another 4-person team or something.
Yeah.
These were the freaking days, bro. Um, but there was a band, like a Florida hardcore band called Dragbody, and I didn't. They were in a genre of music I liked, even though I didn't really care for that band in particular. I never really listened to them, but I liked the name, and so I just used it as my name playing Halo. And a few years later, when I got into uh, modding, I needed to pick a screen name, and so I just stuck with Dragbody. And so that's all. It's just a name that came from my Halo 1 days.
Well, I tell you right now, well, just to let you know, I love my music, love my live music, so I will be checking out Dragbody.
No, no, I'm saying don't. I didn't like them.
You
I
didn't
can
like-
recommend. I tell you what, I'll
Right,
recommend some other groups offline if you want to find something to mosh to later.
Yeah, and yeah, if we're talking mosh, that's my kind of scene as well. So amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good. There was something. Oh yeah, when I saw your name, Dragbody, the first thing that popped into my head was I play a lot of BF Battlefield 6, and they've introduced a drag mechanic where you can actually drag and revive.
Mhm.
You're a down soldiers, and that's instantly what I thought of, and I was like, Dragbody, right? This guy, is he a BF6 player? I doubt it, but that's what
No,
popped into my head.
what I'm doing is I'm taking all the NPCs from the game and I'm dragging them away to safety so I can
Yeah,
revive them with new assets, right?
that's it. You got
Oh
it.
my
Yeah.
God.
You got it.
Yeah.
Right, Raw.
Well,
What's going on?
No,
man,
that was phenomenal. Go ahead, sir.
if I can, if I can just plug a mod that's coming up. An old
Absolutely.
friend of mine, Hitman, you guys may have seen. He's
Of
really good with
course,
animations.
of course.
Have you seen any of his YouTube videos for what he's doing with Fallout 4 and 76 creatures?
I
I have
have
not.
not, but we're about to pull this up on
Oh,
stream
holy
right now.
shit. No, he has found a way that he is actually porting the skeletons and animations, and then converting the meshes with original bone weights and everything. So, and I'm fortunate enough to have tested this. It's incredible, and what the community is in store for when he finally releases this, which is hopefully going to be sooner than later. Like, if you've played 76, you know how cool it is to go into a mine and fight a Wendigo Colossus. Imagine going into, say, the big gold mine near Searchlight in New Vegas, and there's a Wendigo Colossus. With the
Crazy.
original skeleton and animations moving and attacking almost just like it does in 76.
So he
Oh wow.
backported all
Or
that.
having Wendigos and Radhogs and Snallygasters and all these things running, bloodworms, all these things in the New Vegas world with their original animations. And I'm not saying it's not like taking the Yao Guai and putting it on the old Yao Guai skeleton like I did, or taking the updated mole rat model and putting it on the Fallout New Vegas skeleton. This is like ported straight from the game, and it's incredible. So
Hey,
re-
so
really
what
looking
you're
forward to
saying
that for everyone.
what you're saying, like this, it sounds like like I instantly thought of, you mentioned the creatures and stuff like that,
Mhm.
that were featured. They were featured in Fallout 2 and stuff like that as well. Those creatures, what are they called again? That begins with a W. And I always mispronounce
Wendigo,
them. Wendigos.
yeah,
Yeah. So there was a limitation on the Fallout engine for Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and I'm pretty sure well, I think you will be aware of it. Do you remember the floaters that were in Fallout 1? Like those sort of worm creatures that would like they were accompanied by centaurs, right? So it's like they were basically super mutant pets, and
yeah.
apparently these things couldn't be animated because of the bone structure and stuff, so they were left out of Fallout 3 and 4. But it sounds like
Mm.
this guy could potentially include them in like future mods, which for me is that's a win.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. I do know that he ran into an issue with something like that with the Scorch Beast.
Right.
So the Scorch Beast is flying, right? And due to the way the New Vegas engine works, even though the animations have it up in the air, it's still registering as a creature that's on the ground. So you could just have something on the ground, just like swinging at the air, and it's registering as being, I think, a hit on the Scorch Beast. So
Oh,
for
okay.
that reason, there are certain limitations. Not everything can be brought over, but if we're talking about just a worm crawling around on the ground, yeah, definitely the bloodworm from the Fallout 4 DLC. It's in the one of the dry lakes, and you can go and it'll jump at you and it's crawling on the ground. It's amazing.
The creature I'm talking about in particular is called a floater, right? And it's like it's how do I describe it? It's like an upright worm.
The
Like it's
floater.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm
So
talking about, right?
on screen.
um, I
Yeah,
don't know
I was
from
trying to
Fallout
remember.
1 and 2, but the floaters are in 76, and those are in the mod.
Right.
Um, Even a recent expansion of 76 included all those overgrown characters, what the Atlantic City expansion. He's got overgrown floaters, those things that look like crazy plants. Got him in Vault 22. Super creepy, super cool.
Yeah, they would like from what I remember, and hopefully Roz got a picture of them, so I'm not decimating this. But they're like they have the posture of a king cobra, but they're big. They're big old
Mhm.
floors, and they would
Yeah,
shoot.
yeah.
They would have they would shoot out like an internal mouth, like a double mouth, like like the alien
Mhm.
from the xenomorph.
Yeah,
It's like kind of like that, but it's like in worm format. I hope I'm not butchering that, and I hope it's on screen.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
yeah. Sorry, go on.
yeah, there's not an exact creature like that because if it's not in Fallout 4 76, right?
No.
But the rad hogs, not rad hogs, I'm sorry, rad toads from 76 that have that shoot out at you tongue attack, he's got that in New Vegas.
Oh, okay.
They do that. Yeah. It's like I said, it's super cool, and the community is going to love it when it gets released.
These things, just for context as well, for everybody in chat as well, these things were creations from the Masters Army. They were like failed creations, super like FEV creations. So everybody's familiar with the Centaurs. They were in Fallout 3, but also like featurely heavily in Fallout 1 and 2. But you had Centaurs and you had these floaters that were essentially pets of like super mutants. So if you bumped into them and like on the world map, 9 times out of 10, the super mutants would have these guys with them, a Centaur or a floater, and they'll come at you, and they were like, you can imagine they were pretty disgusting, like mutations because of FEV and stuff. But yeah, these things were nasty, and like they always made me grimace when I fought them
Yeah.
because of the way they moved and things like that. And I love that sort of thing in terms of if something's got me grimacing, then yeah, it's doing
Yeah.
it's doing its job, right?
Well, Hitman's mod doesn't have that exact creature, but plenty to make you grimace. So just put it on your calendar and be ready to enjoy it because it's going to be super cool.
Sick. I will do that.
Yeah.
These look absolutely incredible. He just showed that Snallygaster, and like seeing all these backported from 76 to New Vegas is crazy.
Yeah, they feel like they fit in. He's incorporated them all in the game world in a way that makes sense. Like it's cool.
Oh wow, he's gone prone? No way.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's from another mod pack that released relatively recently.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. I love that.
Are there any other up and coming mods that you were particularly excited for? Anything you have your eyes on? Like obviously all this stuff coming from Hitman, but is there anything else that you're
Yeah.
excited for?
Well, I'm excited to release NVI. I'm working on it, but I can speak to what Bale has created and say it's super cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But those are the oh, and Some Rooster is he goes by Some Rooster now. I think
Yeah,
it's no secret that
yeah.
he's Some Guy, the New Vegas Bounties creator. He's working on a Legion mod and just has a lot. He's kind of doing small stuff now to set the stage for some more ambitious projects he's got. So looking forward to those as well.
Always some top-notch work from him too. Real
Yeah.
big hitters.
Yeah. You know, I touched on it a little bit earlier, the idea of the Nexus doing paid mods and everything. I know there's a lot of controversy around that. You guys, you want to dive into that
Yeah, by all
swamp for a
means.
minute?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of people have taken issue with this. I saw somebody asking on one of my images of Lucy on Nexus, like, is this going to be paid? And I think as far as paid mods go, and the Creation Club and the sort of controversy that was around with that to begin with, um, there is the way that I always thought about this was that the Creation Club created the potential to bring in professional artists and quality of content that we wouldn't have otherwise. So I don't know if Creation Club has ever grown into what Bethesda wanted it to be, and I don't know what these people are getting in terms of compensation for their mods, or their creations, I should say. But let's just say that they get 10%. Let's say it costs $5 to download something, and they get 50 cents. I don't know if that's high or low or what, but it's just approximate it, and say. Um, you have a $5 creation. You're getting 50 cents for that, and 1,000 people download it. You know, that's $500 that you've just made. Um, if 10,000 people download, if 100,000 people download it, and so I think that having this capability for financial compensation to bring people in is huge. What I think a lot of people rightfully took issue with is mods that would have been created anyway and would have been released for free. Well, now there's a framework being created for them to be charged for instead. And that I understand being different. So I think there's a large difference between mods that would not have existed if not for a system allowing the creators to be compensated financially, versus those things that you would have gotten for free if not for this system. So I definitely understand that. I also know that there are a lot of younger creators that are in a situation where they're trying to get into professional work, and they are looking for jobs, and they have donations open as a way of they don't have a full-time job. They might still be looking for work. They're trying to get into the gaming industry,
Yeah.
and that I think is a lot different. And supporting those people is a lot different than somebody who, like I said, would have released something for free, but they just decided to charge you for it instead. As somebody who has a Patreon, what I can say is that, well, for one, I support a lot of other creators, and there is also a lot of work that I'm doing where I've commissioned other artists, and I'm able to commission these artists to create new content based on the funds that are coming in through my Patreon. These are not funds that I'm just using to pad my own pockets, but I'm taking a lot of it and turning it around, and I'm able to create new mods that would not have existed if not for these donations. So, for example, I've commissioned some texture work recently. The Joshua Graham model that I released not long ago. That I don't want to say certain amounts because I don't want to reveal what people charged me, because it might not be what they would charge somebody else for something new. But well, I can speak very generally and just let you know that I'm well into four figures for what I've invested into what's coming out in NVI.
Oh
So
wow.
if that, yeah, and so it's been building for a long time. So as far as paid mods go, you're not just paying to uh, you know put money in somebody's pocket. At least for me, you're crowdsourcing new content that wouldn't exist otherwise, and I think that makes a big difference too.
We got a question from Mr. Patty Dunn Did It. When working on the Long 15, was there a noticeable difference between when you worked on the Frontier?
Well, definitely. When I got into the Long 15 a little late, um, a lot of it had been done already, so I was just looking at some things that I thought could maybe use a little polish here or there, or some things that hadn't existed yet, but the characters for them were already in the story. So, for example, there was a sheriff, and the sheriff was just using the generic outfit, so I made a new sheriff outfit. I worked on the 88 or what's the tribe I'm blanking on? The 80s. Sorry, the 80s
Yeah, the
tribe.
80s armor. There we go.
Yeah. Sorry, I was confusing that with 188 for just a minute. But yeah, the 80s armor. Like, um, the story already existed, and so assets were being created to bring the story to life. And like I said, with the Frontier, it was exactly the opposite. It was recruit whoever you can to work on this thing, and whatever they make, that will determine the story that we tell. Uh, so, uh, and you can see the difference in community reception, and I think that that is no accident. The planning and intention being very different between those two mods, and the outcome.
Get this. Right. Another one. This is another selfish personal question. Drag, you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Right, here we go. So, if you could redesign one Fallout faction from scratch, and I mean scratch, which would it be and why?
Mm, so you're putting me on the spot here.
Of course, of course.
Redesign from scratch. Um, you know, I guess you know, the I don't know, maybe the Enclave? I don't know, this is something I wish I could roll this around and noodle on it for a minute,
I'll take
rather
your
than
time.
just sort of
Absolutely, take your time,
No,
man.
no, people will sign off and be, "Okay, the interview's over." He's sitting there thinking about a question for a minute. No, that's not good.
It's
So
certainly got you thinking, though, right? It's certainly got you thinking.
well, it did. So I guess, if you look at my first Great Khans faction overhaul,
Mhm.
what you'll see is that I portrayed them as sort of like a biker gang using a lot of armors from the Servarium game, and I thought it was cool. Like I was sort of updating their look, making them more post-apocalyptic. And I look back at that now, and I think, um, you know, I should have created, and still in the future intend to create, a vanilla, an upgraded vanilla version of their actual aesthetic, which is kind of blending this Mongolian sort of Great Khan, a Genghis Khan type
Yeah.
aesthetic with a semi. You get a little bit of like a biker gang sort of feel from them, and just blending these. So as far as like redesigning, a faction from the ground up, I think that the story, uh, the background of these factions sort of already has their design sort of built into it. So I
Hmm.
think it's more about just like making it look good, rather
Yeah.
rather than reimagining it.
How
I guess
about
I could, yeah.
sorry to interject. How
No,
about excuse me. Um, how about I just had a thought because one of my and this is like obviously faction related, right? So in Fallout 3, there was a faction that was like um kind of it was kind of underground. It wasn't, you could interact with them a little bit, but Talon Company. Do you remember
mhm,
Talon Company and them?
sure,
What
yeah,
would you like? What would you like to see? Like, if you were to enhance them, what would you do with them? Because they were always one that fascinated me. They were like essentially like mercenaries for
yeah,
hire, and they would be shoot to kill and
yeah.
sort of yeah. I mean, what would you like to do with them? Just out of personal interest.
So I think actually Talon Company could be representative of multiple factions in the game. I guess when you ask the question, I initially go to major factions that are
Yeah,
properly developed.
that's what I was kind
Uh,
of going with. But then I kind of
yeah.
thought, yeah, let's shake it up a bit.
So Talon Company is just basically these assassins who are mercenaries. They get
Hmm.
paid to come kill you, and they just got retextured combat armors, right? Like boring.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you've got in New Vegas, you've got three different raider factions
Yeah,
between the Vipers, the Jackals, and the Scorpions that all look nothing like raiders really should. And there have been some mods that have attempted to sort of revisit this. Um, I don't think any of them do like a definitive job of it. And then you've got the Fiends, which are essentially just raiders with different hats. So
those
all of
ones were the most
these,
telling for me, by the way. Just sorry again, sorry to, but the
yeah,
fiends, they were the most. Those were the ones that really how do I put it? Just like fascinated me because they were like they were the horrible raiders, weren't they? Like what they did in the was it Vault Free? Like
yeah.
they basically took over Vault Free, and
Mhm.
the story in there was like I think I've talked about this in multiple RawCasts and streams and stuff. But man, like when you hear their story and their leader is it Motorhead, the guy with the chainsaw and stuff, like
Yeah,
they were like they were the really nasty raiders that were like crackheads and just like absolutely out of it because they
yeah,
essentially went straight into that vault and just like did unspeakable things.
sure. Just went and
Uh,
murdered everybody. Yeah,
yeah, they
I think
did.
what they
Yeah.
were like let in by I don't remember the lore exactly, but wasn't it they did they break in or were they let in?
No, I think there was politics involved in terms of the vault free wanted like there was one half wanted to like keep the vault sealed and another half wanted to go out and what do you call it, trade. And I think the Fiends got wind of it that they were trading with a certain bunch of people or faction. I might be completely wrong, chat, help me out, but this is my recollection of it. And the Fiends went up and said like basically, oh yeah, we'll trade with you, and then just went in and absolutely butchered them. That's my kind of
Yeah,
recollection of it.
yeah. So I think all of these factions, the ones that are on the peripheral, that didn't get fully developed, all of these could be, um, they're using recycled clothing from the
Yeah,
game. It's nothing that speaks to their faction uniquely. All of these different factions have the opportunity. They have the room to be
yeah,
redesigned from the ground up for sure. Tell their story better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've played, like any other modern games that you played, where an asset or a character or something has made you go, I wish this was in Vegas?
Of course. So you mentioned Rage 2 earlier, and
Hmm.
the same developer created that the Mad Max game,
Great,
and
great game.
um, yeah. So both of those games I'm not one for driving cars around, but both of those games, driving the cars was kind of fun, and the world looked great. And going into some of these towns and the combat was fun.
Yeah,
And Mad Max was another game where the NPCs were very unique and vibrant. And getting outside, I mentioned Cyberpunk earlier. That game was so fun because you could go be in the outskirts in the desert and
mm,
then go drive into just the vibrance of the inner city with the neon lights and the music and the crowds. And like could you imagine a New Vegas that was made in the
oh,
cyberpunk world using
oh
cyberpunk
Oh
wow,
my
assets, all
God.
of that?
jeez.
Like it would blow your
Oh,
socks off.
oh,
Yeah,
That leads me
bro,
to a
you've
follow-up
got so,
question that we've talked about multiple times with other people. If there
yeah.
was a company as they stand right now, they like a different publisher, different producer that you could have make the next Fallout game, who would be your ideal candidate for Fallout 5?
Larian, Larian.
I have been so siloed off in a modding world where I haven't branched out to play as many games as maybe some others have. So I might
Fair.
not have a wildly informed opinion on this, but CD Projekt Red,
Yeah.
just based on my experience of playing Cyberpunk, seems like a good candidate. You could make whatever qualifications you want to make about the bugs on release and
Yeah,
would this just be Bethesda 2.0? Maybe, but let's just assume for the sake of argument that that could all be mitigated. Um, just seeing Cyberpunk, uh, just things like, oh, this to me screams build New Vegas in this in this engine with assets of this quality, and it would be amazing.
Problem with that though, I think there might be an issue with that though, because yeah, I like the Cyberpunk team that that created Cyberpunk initially. I think a lot of them have split and stuff, so they're not all
Yeah.
together. So the creative process might be slightly, different. Because I think a few of them have split over to a new company called Rebel Wolves. We covered this, Rod, didn't
Oh,
we?
brother, have you
Rebel
seen
Wolves.
this? Have you heard about that, Dragbody?
Yeah, so
Uh,
they're doing. Sorry,
have not. No.
I was say like so they're doing another game. What's it? What's the game called? Raw, help me out here. So it's a vampire game, right?
Yeah, give me one
That's
second.
essentially yeah. If we can research that, but like you can tell that this game is it's got so much Witcher 3 vibes, if you know what I mean. It's got
Yeah.
the music, the theme, the combat, and stuff like that. The name of the game escapes me now, but yeah, it's
The
Rebel
Blood of
Wolves who are
Dawnwalker.
that is the
Blood
boy,
of the
Blood of
Dawnwalker.
Dawnwalker.
Oh,
Yeah, we
well,
covered
it
this in
sounds
previous.
sounds like it'll be a good game.
Yeah,
You know,
if you see the trailer, I mean, you watch the trailer, it does not mess around. It's very very
cool.
like gritty. So I
Yeah,
check it out at some point, man.
I'll check it out. You know, the question I thought you were about to ask me was about a Vegas remaster.
Yeah, we were getting into
And
that one too.
yeah,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
we?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
What are your
yeah.
thoughts? What are your perspectives? Do you feel like it's real? It seems like it's been leaked to the point and pretty much confirmed that it is real. What's your thoughts on the entire thing?
Yeah, so I've chatted about this with a few of my friends, and so far as I can tell, we all have the same general opinion. Uh, I mean, it seems like it's going to happen. Just given the success of the show, it would be a huge missed opportunity if something like it isn't made. You know, Fallout 3 is all but confirmed, and New Vegas is right there on its heels. I think. Uh, so for the question of what does that mean for the OG Vegas modding community,
Mm,
and what's going to happen when that game drops,
Right.
I think that every modder, myself included, excuse me, myself included, should take the time to play it. You know, what are you going to do if a remaster gets released? I'm going to play it. You're not going to hear from me for a month or two, and I'm going to be playing
Right.
this game.
if you've
And
got the time, yeah. If you've got the
yeah,
time,
I think that I think that's what everyone should do. You know, everyone
yeah,
who's
yeah,
invested so much time into modding the original, uh, take the time to play the new one. But then, if it doesn't have the ability, if it has modding capabilities, like say Fallout 4, then the future is wide open. What that could mean, but if it's like Oblivion and it's harder to mod and it's on Unreal Engine or something like that,
Mm.
then I think what's going to happen is you're just going to have two versions of the game where if you just want like a raw playing experience, like you want to go and run around a game that's visually striking, that has good combat mechanics and everything, play the remaster. Uh,
yeah,
but but the remaster won't be able to compete from a role playing perspective with all of the quest mods that have been created, with all of the new companions that have been created, with all the different user created content that's been added into the vanilla game over the years. There's just everyone just has the ability to tailor their own game so much that I think the role playing experience is still going to keep OG Vegas alive. Plus, I hope that if there is a remaster, that it can serve as a great library of resources for what people would call backporting. You know, I
Right.
think we'll see a lot of that stuff get put back into the OG version of the game, and hopefully elevate it aesthetically too.
it'd be interesting. Like I'm all for. Just don't get me wrong here. I'm all for a Vegas remaster or whatever. A remake, whatever you want to call it. But you know, um, it would be interesting to see it in this. I think because you kind of touched on it, Drag. Like in 2026, how is that gonna be? Because Vegas was famously quite it didn't mess around in terms of story and it had some spicy stuff in there. But how would the new crowd, I guess, the new audience take a remastered New Vegas? For instance, people that haven't played it, do you think it'd be quite shocking to them?
It's a good question. You know, there is some controversy. So I think Fallout 3 is a little spicier, as we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
But That's a good question. I think that as long as you have the ability, you know what? This is actually, I'll mention this. When what is it? New Vegas redesigned. Was that the Dracomies before he did Brave New World?
I'm
Um,
honestly not sure on that one.
yeah,
Not sure.
I think he did like three versions of this, and I was chatting with him, and at one point he was asking for help, doing certain things, and uh, one of the things he was doing was taking some of these people that are captive. They're essentially like being held in slave pens and making them look beat up. Like adding blood to them and whatever. And
Yeah.
I was in a situation where a living situation with a roommate at that time that would have taken major issue with that. And, aside from my own personal feelings on it, and I thought, if I contribute to a mod that is enhancing the appearance of abused women, like what, I could have my roommate get so mad at me that, they could kick me out of, of,
Yeah.
of the
Sure.
apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this would be highly problematic. And I, the community is going to be divided on that. I it's just controversial in general. GTA 6 is coming out sometime this year, I believe. Are they going to have in it the same content that GTA 5 did, where
Yeah.
like
For
you
sure.
can
Sure.
you can go hire a prostitute and then sleep with her and then beat her up afterwards and take your money back? Like it kind of blows my mind that that's in a video game.
Yeah.
But it is, and people play it. People spend a lot of money on it, and so luckily that is not a controversy that I have to settle.
The
So
thing is,
we
right?
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but the thing
No, go
is,
ahead.
right? I think I think it's a pertinent point because you know, you like you said that you risked offending, your friend and stuff like that by implementing certain things, but
Mhm.
I think a lot of people don't understand that. I think we chatted about this Raw, and there was a few others on the gaming night. I don't want to name drop or that, but there's a few other guys that were in here, and um, that is what you would expect in a Fallout universe, though. It's
Mhm.
not a nice place. It's not a nice
Yeah.
place, and yeah, and it's for me that is true Fallout. That's the sort of stuff you would encounter, and as
Mhm.
grim as it is, it's realistic.
So
It is,
you could make that point. Yeah, it's true. It's what you would experience. If it was a real world too, you'd also have to go to the bathroom, and we don't have like
yeah,
like animating P mods. You
yeah.
don't have like a poop meter on your character, but that's real. You would have to find a place to go to the bathroom. So I
Yeah, some
think that
people appear to be really clean as well, and like top haircuts as well. It's like, where are these barbers kicking around?
yeah, exactly. So, I
Yeah,
mean, just the fact that you would encounter it in a real world version of this doesn't mean that it's an element that you need to pick up on and enhance and draw attention to in the game itself. There's ways of, making innuendo to it or having it told through dialogue, perhaps. So, yeah, I understand that perspective, but I do think that it's controversial, and I think that there's a variety of feelings about it, and I think we should do our best to be sensitive to all of those.
absolutely. Yeah,
Is there
absolutely.
something
But
that you
I'm
would
I'm
like to?
going I'm going. Sorry, Rod. Just one last thing I just want to say about this. But I guess like I think I'm more in the old school mindset because I used to watch movies that have clearly influenced Fallout, like Mad Max, and
Mhm.
there's the book as well, A Boy and His Dog, and things like that. And you can see the emphasis in there, and then when you watch actual movies that were again 80s movies and stuff like that, didn't hold back, they had like some very gritty and spicy stuff in there.
Yeah.
um I do see why a lot of people relate, especially myself, because of I played Fallout 1, and Fallout 1 was considered dark. I've mentioned this so many times that, it was a dark
Mhm.
thing. It was a post-apocalyptic environment, very very Mad Max like, but it also had spicy content in there, and even Fallout 3, like you said, Drag, like I could mention a lot of things like slaver camps and things like that. But I just
Yeah.
think if we're sticking, and I know there's like quite a few camps in the Fallout universe, isn't there, in terms of how they perceive it. But I'm always me personally the more darker side of it, because yeah, it's the stuff
Yeah.
I grew up with. But I just wanted to, you know, put my point across in terms of that.
Yeah. I totally understand that perspective. I just, I guess if it's not already in the game, from a modding perspective, I don't feel the need to enhance it and put it in people's face even more than it already is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that get triggered by different things, and I would hope to toe that line responsibly and be respectful. And um, guys, I just got a time check. I've got a girlfriend living with me here who's got to get ready for work relatively
Well, man,
soon. So yeah,
have you seen how long we've been streaming? We've been streaming for 2 hours. Holy shit!
yeah, she's been gracious and quiet in the corner, but she does have to get going. So there's going to be some noise on my side. So were there any like last questions that you wanted to make sure to get in before we wrap up?
Raw.
Some stuff for like up and coming like modders, but like people wanting to get their feet wet in the modding scene. Ask you a few questions around that.
Yeah, let's go rapid fire.
Okay. I lost my page when I was looking up the Blood of Dawn Walker thing.
That's
What?
intentional,
Okay,
man.
just
Just
some
test me.
general advice. While I'm getting this pulled back up, is there like some general
Yeah.
advice for someone that's like brand new to the scene?
For someone that's brand new to the scene, don't start off too ambitious. Figure out. I think that a lot of modders who are good at what they do have found an area of specialty. I mentioned Hitman earlier. He's great with animations. He's good in other things too, but very few people understand animations as well as he does. I have certain skills with assigning bone weights and creating races for unique characters. I'm not the only person that can do these things, but I can do it fairly well, I think. There's some people that are great with textures, some people that are great with, say, NVR presets, whatever. I think don't try to go too wide. Don't think, oh, I'm going to make a mod and think that you have to learn how to do lip files and audio incorporation, and don't try to do everything. Find where your area of specialty can at least start. Get your feet wet, and then expand from there.
Do you feel?
Use
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Do you feel like there's something that the modding scene should let go of, something that it should progress from?
Something that it should progress from.
I know early. Okay, as a brief
Yeah.
example, you were talking
So.
earlier about. Oh,
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, and I don't want to put anyone on blast. There's a lot of old texture mods that used old techniques that still get used by a lot of people, and they're very high file size. Not the greatest quality of texture mod, and I feel like there's some of those old, once staple texture mods that new texture mod processes and techniques just far exceed what was being done 10 to 15 years ago. And so I think if we could shed some of those outdated texture mods and just update it with new textures, I think anybody using some of those old outdated texture mods would be better off for the new stuff.
Hey, you want quick fire, right? Get ready for
Yeah.
this. And I thought about this question of like, this is like the most in-depth question I'm going to ask you all night. What is your favorite cold cut Subway sandwich?
The veggie, man, I'm vegan.
Oh, okay. So what's in there? What's in there?
Oh, it's just vegetables, man, just
Just
plants.
vegetable, just plants. Oh
Just
man,
plants. If I'm going for vegetables, give me some broccoli, some sweet potatoes, some rice, some tofu, some mushrooms, some Brussels sprouts. I'm good. I'm good.
sweet.
Yeah.
Sauce? Any sauce?
Yeah, let's get some tahini or some guacamole or something, like, something in there like that. And before anybody jokes about me being a scrawny vegan or something, just also know that I am a jiu-jitsu black belt and have trained jiu-jitsu for 18 years, and so yeah, that is not an issue.
Yeah, we'll get some
He knows
footage
what he's
of him
doing.
next year or this year at the New Vegas event.
Yeah, yeah, we can set up some mats if anybody wants to roll. We'll
$10
see.
a roll.
I'm coming over. I'm coming over.
Yeah.
I want to scuffle. I want to scuffle with Dragbody.
Okay.
He's
All right,
gonna kick
guys.
my ass.
No, maybe not with any malice though. But
Yeah.
I do have to wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's truly been an honor, a pleasure. Thank you for joining us and for talking for like the past 2.5 hours. We greatly
No,
appreciate it.
I'd run it until we ran out of breath, but I just do have to be considerate of my girlfriend here, who's got to get ready for work. So I appreciate you guys having me on and chatting, and I hope it's been interesting. And I'd love to chat with you guys another time.
Can I
Sounds like
just
a
say,
plan,
Ross?
man.
Sorry, before you go, I was going to take my appreciation to Dragbody. Thank you for coming here. I don't know if I speak for everyone, but I'm pretty sure I do. Raw and chat. I mean, it's been fascinating having you on, listening to not only your creative process in terms of modding and stuff like that, but also the in-depth look into the lore and your opinions on the Fallout franchise, the storytelling. It's been like again fascinating for us especially. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming on here. It's been a pleasure, and we'll be keeping tabs on your work, and
Yeah.
hopefully we will be linking and chucking your stuff around all over the place in terms of Discord and YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on here.
Yeah. Thank you both for having me. It's been fun.
Take care of yourself, brother.
All right. Talk to you later.
Later. Guys, that is going to conclude today's RawCast. If you guys have anything else that you want to add, you want to say to Dragbody, be sure to drop it in the Discord. I'll be sending him some screenshots or see if he wants to just hop in the Discord. We'll see how that goes. But regardless, thank you all for being here. Thank you again for the super fat $9.99 super chat being dropped by Mr. Eero himself. Thank you for all the comments, all the interaction. Thank you guys for engaging and just being part of the RawCast. Blue, thank you for your time and for your guidance and help along the way.
Listen, look, a serious note here, and I'm looking at chat right now, and I'm going to be speaking to chat here. How good was that? That was fucking great, wasn't it? What a RawCast that was. I mean, the insight from Dragbody, man, brilliant, absolutely great. And obviously, you've got my, as fucking Ross says, my input, excellent as always. Just the sock doing his thing. But yeah, Raw and me, absolutely delighted with that. We are, Jesus Christ, we could have went on for about 3 hours, right?
2.5, yeah.
Yeah, man. No, I thought that was fascinating and fantastic. So I don't know about you guys, but yeah, massive W's in the chat for Dragbody, and yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thanks for everyone tuning in. We've got some good numbers, by the way. I'm just looking at it now. We had solid numbers, far higher than our usual. But I'll stop talking. Raw, go for it.
Also, if you guys are new around here, if you enjoyed this, actually, you know what? Screw it, we're gonna do this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy what you watch, please consider hitting that like button. Subscribe if you haven't also already. Share the stream, get us some additional exposure. We're trying to get to 5K by the end of the year and cannot do it without you. If you want to see more RawCasts just like this one with some other modders, we have a lot of people lined up. A lot of big names, just like Mr. Dragbody himself. So if you want to see more of these, be sure to hit that sub button. Thank you all for everything. You guys stay active, stay healthy, stay hydrated, stay in the scripture, and we hope to see each and every one of you in the next RawCast.
Hey, peace. Love you all. See you later.
Live in stereo.
Guys, if you want to stick around for just like another 30 seconds to a minute, we're going to see about potentially rating someone. No need, no pressure, but thank you all for being here once again. Love you guys.